Let's see. This is working. Awesome. Well, it is so wonderful to be here. James mentioned a little bit about our connection early on 2 years ago, and so you already heard. He already sort of spilt the beans that yes, I am old enough to be up here and be a physician, but I'm very early on in the stage. So, but my name is Robert Abbott, and I'm actually just recently started a team-based functional medicine clinic in Charlottesville, Virginia. So about a couple hours down the road.
And I'm Angie. I'm a certified health coach and nutritional therapy consultant, and I'm just up the road the other direction in Maryland.
So what we want to talk about today, as you can see on the slide, is the power of collaboration, and more specifically about combining community-based health coaching with functional medicine to treat and reverse autoimmune disease, and really any chronic disease for that matter. So here's kind of a rhetorical question: why collaborate? The reality is, we as practitioners recognize that we don't have all of the skills and tools to help our patients heal. And really what we need to do is collaborate with other individuals that can provide an experience or skill set to better help our patients in their journey. So it's really this moment of vulnerability to say, I don't have all the answers, but I can still help you. So here's a big slide with lots of words, but really what I want you to see here is that really what is collaboration? Well, you can see our current model is just dissecting patients in referral network. So I send you out to the orthopedist, I send you out to the rheumatologist, and then 2 or 3 months later, you come back to my office and I'm trying to piece together the 4 medicines you just got put on and the reasons why. Really what we need are embedded teams and integrative care, building the patient up instead of dissecting them into organ systems, and doing it synchronously with each other so everyone's talking at the same time, and really with a unified interest and not competing interest on how the patient will move forward with treatment.
Okay, so how did this all come to be? How did Rob and I start deciding to collaborate? Well, in late December 2015, I was contacted by Dr. Gauri Kanajetti. She's a gastroenterologist at Scripps in San Diego. And she had a patient with ulcerative colitis who had asked her if he could give the Autoimmune Protocol, AIP, an opportunity before he went on biologic drugs. And Dr. Kanajetti said, okay, yes, you can do that. 3 months later, he came back and he was in clinical remission. And she was so shocked by this that she said, where did you learn about this? What is this? And he was sending her to our website, autoimmunewellness.com. That's my website with Mickey Truscott. And she saw that I had an existing program to onboard people into the Autoimmune Protocol. And she said, I want to study this, and can we use your program as the model? Of course, I said, absolutely, yes, you can. And we started the study process. And in 2017, the results were published. And those results got Rob's attention, and that's how we ended up collaborating.
Needless to say, when I read this study, I instantly wanted to get in touch with Angie and figure out what was the secret sauce that she was doing.
So some of you might be wondering what AIP is. It's the Autoimmune Protocol. It's a science-based elimination and reintroduction diet that removes food-driven sources of inflammation and restores nutrient sufficiency. People use it to help manage their autoimmune diseases, and it's been used successfully alone or in combination with conventional treatments. The eliminations are rigorous. So that's where health coaching comes into play to help with how rigorous it is. And then we restore nutrient density, which in itself isn't necessarily so hard, but it means eating a lot of foods that we don't typically eat in the standard American diet, and people often need coaching about that too. So we use this process in my program where we slowly eliminate those foods to avoid overwhelm, and we slowly add the new stuff so they have plenty of time to wrap their minds around eating liver. And along the way, we slowly introduce some lifestyle concepts, taking care of your sleep, stress management, things like that. So we did that in the program with folks who had inflammatory bowel disease, and clinical remission was achieved by 73% of them by week 6. So that was huge. And so that was 11 of 15 folks, and they maintained it for the entire maintenance period. Dr. Kanajetti was absolutely shocked. She did not hypothesize that this would happen. I, of course, knew it would happen. But, this rivals most drug therapies for IBD. If we dig a little bit,
I was just going to say, yes, you heard all of that correctly. And that was kind of the expression I had when I came across this study and reading, like, why isn't everyone now doing this? So really, really incredible things here.
so if we dig a little bit deeper into these results, like I said, 73% in clinical remission after only 6 weeks. 7 of the 15 participants came into this study on active biologic drugs, but they were not in remission. So that really suggested that the important component for successful treatment was this dietary and lifestyle change. And then going beyond that, of course, the patients were advised to not self-discontinue their medication, but one of them did. He discontinued his oral biologics. He still achieved remission by week 6. Another patient self-discontinued his oral biologics, but he continued to use a biologic suppository. He still achieved remission, so it showed that there was a way to make his conventional treatment more powerful, and it was diet and lifestyle change. And 2 participants were eventually able to discontinue steroid therapy. Important for you guys to know, too, is that the average duration of disease length for this group of folks was 19 years. It's not like they were newbies who just, caught it, nipped it in the bud. This was like really entrenched disease.
So I think we could probably pause there and really reflect on the implications of that study. I will continue to reiterate how groundbreaking that study was. And really what I want to provide here is a little schematic or therapeutic paradigm of what's happening in this study and how should we address the treatment of autoimmune disease. As you've probably heard before, it's not going to be one single thing. So what I have here is a little bit of a schematic outlining what we believe is really happening when we implement Angie's program and coaching with some of these principles of functional medicine.
So first of all, there's community, like James has been talking about all night. In my program, they, of course, have access to health coaches, and they're working with their doctors, but they have each other. They can share their disease experience, and they can share the experience of trying to make the enormous health change, which is deviant behavior in our current culture. And then, of course, they've got the health coaching. That is helping them bridge the gap between their doctor's office and their real life. It's practical implementation of simple things that are going to help them achieve health and wellness. And, of course, the nutrient-dense elimination diet. It makes sense that what we put into our bodies affects the health of our bodies.
So this is the Digestive Disorders Functional Forum, and I think all of us in this room recognize the importance of gut health, not just for autoimmune disease, but for really almost any disease that we can think of. Dr. Alessio Fasano has done a lot of pioneering research giving us a framework, sort of a therapeutic conceptual paradigm for understanding the underpinnings of autoimmune disease and not just one single entity. So really what I see here as a functional medicine practitioner is how can we restore optimal gut health, both the lining and the microbiome, so that we can rebalance the person's immune system. And then this last piece here, I think, resonates with everyone in this audience, targeted supplementation. And I use the word targeted very purposefully to point out that what we should be doing is not just handing people a boatload of things to take, even with good intentions. Things can be incredibly overwhelming. And so we must be very targeted with our treatment approaches. And I resonate with trying food-based supplements and other supplements in conjunction with these other lifestyle changes to really make the biggest impact.
Okay, so what's next? So, Rob and I asked ourselves the big key question, could we apply this therapeutic model that worked with the IBD folks, could we apply it to other autoimmune diseases? And if so, which one? How about the most common one? The current estimates are that it is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, autoimmune thyroid disease. So we decided, let's try to figure out if we can tackle that.
And the one interesting thing I'll say here is that unlike ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, there is really no definitive clinical remission per se for autoimmune disease. So what we're trying to tackle here is probably something that doesn't have the same end game, so to speak, as IBD, but at the same time, it's a huge burden on our population. So here I want to outline a summary of a case collaboration, a patient that came to my family medicine residency clinic that we saw together in collaboration with her program. So the patient was a 68-year-old overweight female with a history of hypertension and hypothyroidism. She was seeking care for integrative approaches. I'll stop there and point out that I'm in a residency clinic at this point, and people are finding me from the Institute for Functional Medicine and coming to this residency clinic because they want integrative care. I think that basically tells you how desperate people are, because if I was you, I probably wouldn't come to the residency clinic to see me. So very powerful in her motivation to get well. She really wanted to lose weight and get off of blood pressure medications if possible. Digging a little bit deeper into her history, I found that she had some issues with rosacea and a little bit of mild psoriasis. She had no previous recollection of testing for autoimmune thyroid disease, but had no previous biopsies or history of nodules or cancer. So some initial testing. So I'll run through here. So here are some initial thyroid labs. So you can see her hormone levels in TSH rather normal, but guess what? She has antibodies, both TPO antibodies and antithyroglobulin antibodies. Now I put these up here basically to show you that the reason most conventional doctors won't measure these is because they don't change your clinical direction. The only outcome for them is basically putting you on replacement thyroid medications. In the case of and working with Angie, when I find elevated antibodies, I recognize there's an autoimmune process going on. I'm going to utilize a different therapeutic approach than someone who doesn't have antibodies. So it's clinically relevant for me. But that's where we have to understand our conventionally trained doctors won't be ordering these tests because it doesn't change their treatment. Some other things to note, her fasting glucose was 105. Her hemoglobin A1C was 5.3, which gives you an estimated average glucose of 105. So this is, by all reasonable estimation, pre-diabetic. Her B12 and folate were normal. Her homocysteine, though, was suboptimal at 13. And her vitamin D on a little bit of supplementation was 52.6. So here's just a reminder of, here's our therapeutic paradigm. We are going to use this to construct our treatment and our approach with this patient. So where do we start? The first thing was, let's start with a nutrient-dense ancestral diet. People are probably familiar with the term the Paleolithic diet. I use the term ancestral diet, but basically introducing her to some foods. She had a Mediterranean background, so this was a little bit foreign to her, but wanted to introduce her to these foods and get her started. I also wanted to address clinically determined gut dysfunction, and I use the term clinically determined because I did no formal testing. If we look in the literature, we already see these two autoimmune conditions, which we know have associations with gut dysfunction. She also has rosacea, which there have been some estimates that almost 100% of individuals with rosacea have something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So she had very limited financial resources, so I determined was willing to use herbal antimicrobials to try to address some of the dysfunction in her gut, and then later hopefully rebuild a healthy microbiome. I wanted to do targeted supplementation, which consisted of food-based cod liver oil, a little bit of magnesium, and curcumin. That was it. And then the key piece was I encouraged her participation in SAD to AIP and 6, which is Angie's program. And then sort of discussing and coordinating with Angie when her next program would be so that we could optimize her outcome.
So what happened? So she joined my program and she started participating. She took that, paleo template a little bit further into the autoimmune protocol. We worked on some diet and lifestyle stuff together with coaching and with the support of group members. And then she came to me and she said in the group, hey, I'm starting to feel a little anxious. I'm having some looser stools. Some stuff's going on. I'm not sure this is, right for me. But I've been doing this program for 5 years. I've seen lots of folks with hypothyroidism. And I knew that probably what was happening was that her thyroid was kicking into gear and now she was over-medicated. So I said, hey, I think you should go back to Dr. Abbott and talk to him and maybe do some retesting. I think that your thyroid might be working.
So she came back to me. I did see her one time in this interval period, but basically within 4 months, from early February to June, she came back. She was able to come off of her losartan, so off of her blood pressure medication with normal blood pressure. Her rosacea and psoriasis, which weren't even her initial concerns, had basically completely cleared, and she no longer needed topical medications, including an antibiotic and steroid. She was having more restful sleep, stable energy, and stable mood. And here, as I mentioned, she was having looser, or as Angie mentioned, having looser stools, little bouts of anxiety. So I decided, okay, it's time to retest. And guess what we found? Her TSH was now suppressed. Her free T3 was elevated. She had made herself hyperthyroid. Now, I will say she had lost a 68-year-old female with a history of hypothyroidism since 2002 on replacement, lost 25 pounds. You could probably chalk up most of this change to her weight loss. Also, a lot of it is probably due to her immune changes, but let me just put that out there for you, because I know there's a huge stigma for people when they age and come to you wanting to lose weight. So here's a woman, a perfect example of very motivated to make some changes in her life. Through nutritional support, was able to basically make herself hyperthyroid. Her antibodies, her TPO, were still high, but her antithyroglobulin came all the way down to 110, which by this lab was in the normal range. Her fasting glucose was now 98. Her hemoglobin A1C was 4.9. I did nothing with macronutrients. I did not tell her to restrict carbohydrates, to worry about protein or fats, and she normalized her blood glucose to an average of 93, so that's from 105 to 93. Her B12 and folate still remained normal, and her homocysteine came down to 9.7 without supplementation. Her vitamin D, with only 1,000 IU supplementation, went up from 50 to 71.5. I have theories of why this happened, probably because we downregulated some of the inflammation and immune burden by the diet, but it elevated to the upper 70s.
Okay, so our key questions were, okay, we collaborated on this, this woman who has Hashis. Could we go ahead and take this innovative approach from the first study, and could we try it again and replicate these findings with autoimmune thyroid disease? But more importantly, how in the world were we going to pull that off? Studies are very expensive.
So what you see here is the title Ninja Research. In a matter of months, I drafted an IRB approval for a single-arm pilot study to assess the efficacy of AIP, but not only AIP, but Angie's program in women aged 20 to 45 with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. The primary outcomes that we're measuring are quality of life and the MSQ, which is the multi-system questionnaire that the IFM utilizes, which is actually a very effective tool to get a great idea of someone's symptom burden. We're also obviously measuring thyroid function and antibodies, but those are our primary measures. We have developed a partnership with Genova Diagnostics and Dr. Lai-Hung Chen to actually get functional stool and nutritional testing for all of the participants pre and post intervention. We are doing laboratory testing through Professional Co-op, which is a cooperative service that does not function through insurance and provides extremely reasonably priced blood chemistry for patients.
And then we tapped our community. Again, James is right. At Autoimmune Wellness, my website with my partner, Mickey Truscott, and we've put together this huge community, and they told us they wanted more research. So we said, hey guys, we think we have an opportunity to research, and we're gonna do it for as cheap as we can. We need 10,000 bucks, can you help us out? They helped us raise $12,000 in 2 weeks. Then we put together a research team, which included me, one of the team members from my coaching team, Andrea Hirsch, she's also a nutritional therapist, Adam Sadowski, he's doing all the data for Dr. Abbott, and Carrie Cooper, our RD, and of course, Rob. So where are we now? We've onboarded 17 women. They've completed all the baseline thyroid, organic acid, and stool testing. They just finished week 4 of the phased elimination process. We're heading into week 5. We've conducted interdisciplinary team rounds and initial results review with all the participants. What are they saying, the women in the program? They're saying things like, the structure of this is amazing, this is making all the difference. You know, this woman here, as you can read, her doctor told her amazingly 2 years ago to go AIP, that's an amazing doctor, but she couldn't do it. She was so overwhelmed without community and support that she actually went harder into the standard American diet. So it's great that she's benefiting from the structure. Another woman said to us that community, again, it was so helpful to her to have support and accountability, and it's really being the clincher in her being able to make these changes.
So why does this work, or how does this work? I have a few ideas for you. People don't get better on islands, maybe unless you're Tom Hanks in Castaway, but as we've also seen, knowledge alone is insufficient. Nutrient-dense elimination diets are incredibly powerful clinical tools that empower patients and provide them greater intuition into their bodies as they heal. The online and virtual community support combined with health coaching is an innovative way to, at scale, help people and help other patients to help others in the group. It's something that we cannot do one-on-one. No matter what your background is as a practitioner, you'll never be able to have the same degree of connection with people if you're just simply working in the one-on-one environment. So as a summary, I just want to give you an idea of what this costs. We told you it's about $10,000. The total cost of this study is a slight underestimate because we're giving a lot of our time, but as a comparison, a 2-month supply of Humira, which is the TNF inhibitor, a drug commonly used in various autoimmune diseases, is $11,000. So I'll let you guys do the math, and James said no math allowed, but I'll let you guys do the math in your head. It sounds like one option is much better than the other. And here's just our last slide, basically just saying grassroots effort like this and community like this, it matters. So as Angie just pointed out, we raised $10,000 in 2 weeks to do this study, and these are the kind of things that are changing people's lives. This study is real life. So thank you guys for having us, and hopefully this was entertaining.